The purpose of this speech is to demonstrate a skill. The specific purpose of this speech is to demonstrate how to make a cross-stitch project. The first step is to decide what project. So you have to pick the material you want to stitch on. It can be Aida fabric, it can be a towel, it can be a pillowcase, a shirt. There's lots of options. After you decide what object, you gather your materials. So you would use the fabric, you would need a needle, scissors, and the thread. After you gather your materials, you decide on a pattern. The pattern I use is from a website called DMC, and they have free cross-stitch patterns to follow. This is the pattern that I use, and you can download, which is what I normally do, or you can take a picture. And once you pick a pattern, you can also pick the theme. So like flowers or nature or animals or a birthday or an anniversary, holidays. There's all kinds of options that you can choose. After you pick your theme and pattern, you pick the colors. The patterns do have colors listed that you can use, but you don't have to. Like this one has the red and green. But for my project, I chose to do a neon green and a neon orange, so it's a little brighter. Once you pick those colors, you can start the stitch. To make a stitch, you have to pick where you want to start, and it's best to start from left to right. And I like to go row by row, because it's just easier to keep track of how many and where you're at. And for this one, I started here up on the corner, and I went across the two, and then I went down, and I did the next row. And I did all of this first before I came over here and did all this. So then after you decide where to start, you get your needle on the thread and you start from behind, and you tie a knot in the end of your thread so it doesn't come out, which is why you start from the behind, and then you pull it through and you go to the diagonal circle, and you make an X shape. So there's the first line of the X. So then you go to the next circle that will make the next diagonal line. You pull it through and find the next circle and pull it through. And that's how you make the X. I found a quote from Susan Fitzgerald that says, "Cross-stitch is comprised of X-shaped stitches done on fabric with an even and open weave like Aida or linen." So this is the Aida fabric, and it has the holes that you easily open weave through. And this is good for beginners. So after you start to stitch and you get a few stitches done and you're ready to tie off the stitch, the easiest thing to do is go to the back, and you find, like this one is already knotted off, and it's a double knot. So then you pull it up behind the thread that's already tied off, pull it through just a little, and then you kind of have a loop that you put your needle through, and you pull it all the way to make a knot, and then you will do that again to make the double knot. Once you get that done, you will take your scissors and you would cut it. But when you cut it, as you can see, I don't want to cut this one because I'm not ready to. But right here, you can see this little section that sticks out. Right there. That's where I cut it off, and you don't want to leave it very long so it's not in your way, but you don't want to make it very short that the knot can come untied. So after you tie it off and you cut it off, then you are done. And you have a project that you're satisfied with, and it all goes well.